Yo, 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 it's your girl Clara Ken of Tribe Eternal. You can check out my latest project, Aura, on Bandcamp. You can also catch me performing live alongside 75 Brewers, September 11th at Pittsburgh, PA. Details at flowfest.beer.
All right, you're asking for it, so here it is. Listen to this.
I want you folks laughing at we partners pod, kid. You understand? We in here drinking, singing, all that shit, dog. We sweating, getting wet, and all that.
Here we go. All right. Welcome to an unnumbered episode of DP Quarentimes. Yes, we are back here. We back in the flow of things. I want to say, I don't know if I said on last one, happy birthday to my son. Today's his 5th birthday. So, we always working. Had a nice little party for my son, but now it's time to get some work done. Ooh, that kind of rhymes. You know what I'm saying? I am one half of the hosting tandem, Ed Bailey. I'm joined as always with my co-host, Dave Bracey. Say what up to the people.
What's good with you people? We are the Drinking Partners, and if you're looking for us, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, Google Play, and Spotify under Drinking Partners. You can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at PartnersPod. Many years now, through the ups and the downs, the pandemics, and the midways, and throughout it, we will continue to ask you, please hop on iTunes, hop on Facebook, rate and review. That's how we know we're doing well. That's how we continue to do well. That's how we let others know that we're doing well. So please hop on iTunes, hop on Facebook, rate and review.
Man, we've been through a lot.
Man.
We've been through the back end of an Obama administration, the Trump administration, a pandemic, a second pandemic that's about to happen again. I done had 2 kids. We've been through a lot.
Bruh.
This is dope. But listen, you love us. You used to see us out in public at the beginning of this and tell us that you love us. And, you can't do it now. But we need you more than ever to, at the click of a button, please tell the internet, please tell the world, tell everybody about Drinking Partners. Tell them which episodes to listen to. Tell them what you like about us. Tell the people that we're funny, all that. But then talk to us as well. Leave a rating review, man. Leave us a review. Let us know what you want to see from us. Let us know what you like that you've seen or heard from us. Where you want to see us. Just let us know as we try to evolve with the social space and everything. We want to do this for the people, man. We want to make sure that we're relevant, we're current, and we're providing you with the entertainment that you want and deserve. And as always, all right, in lieu of rates and reviews, regardless of what's going on outside, regardless of what variant is out here, we will accept shots of Hennessy.
Yes,
right?
hermetically sealed shots of Henny.
Yeah, we'll wipe it down once we get it.
Because I'm wrong.
But we do accept shots of Hennessy. Shout out to Car Guy DJ and the Conways for starting the trend.
Man.
Shout out to everybody who's kept the trend going. Shout out to the Conways. They're expecting their first child.
Man, baby,
we try to keep up with y'all, man. When y'all dedicated fans, we dedicated to the fans, man. We try to stay in touch, stay in contact, man. We try to be good people. We try to make sure we touch y'all. We haven't been able to do so as much in the past year, but we coming up with a grand and sweeping opportunity September 10th through the 12th because we got Barrel and Flow Fest and we gonna let go.
Yeah, man.
Let it flow.
September 10th through the 12th. We got 75 breweries, 150 vendors. We've got 4 stages, 25 musicians. We've got the VIP 3 days. We've got 14 speakers in the conferencing and whatnot. What else? What other impressive numbers do we have out there? We've got
how many collaborations?
We got like 40 collaborations. You know what I mean? From all these states. We got 16 collabs coming in from Tavor, right? If you can't make it to the fest, if you decide you want to stay home, there's a Tavor. Hop on barrelandflow.com/Tavor and download the app and get
those
these
are
Tavor
going to
beers.
half the country, 25 states.
Yeah, that's half the country, man. 16 collaborations featuring 34 breweries being shipped to 25 states, man. And we also have 2 days of coverage with 6 channels featuring music, chefs, comedians, brewers, DJs, and some of your favorite folks out here. So all of that. If you're looking for more information, hop on barrelandflow.com. Flowfest Beer, and download the app. We got a job board on there.
Put the shit in your phone.
We got a job board on there. We got a Black Brew directory
in your phone.
We got we got a map of the place. We got a schedule. All of the artists and speakers are going to be there. All the breweries where you can get the beer, because ultimately, man, this fest is not supporting just a couple of folks, man. We're looking all up and down the supply chain, from the grains to the glass to the festival, man. We're supporting Black folks. You got to get
another G. You got to get that last G. From the grains to the glass to the... that last G. We'll work on it for next episode.
Yeah, we'll get there, you know what I mean? But go September 11th?
Yeah, it's so many opportunities, so many ways. If you can't make it out there, you know what I'm saying? You can get on DigiFlow. Get on the DigiFlow, man. Get on like $10. All right? So $10 and whatever you pay for your internet monthly. And if you got the Comcast triple play, you only pay like $10.
I mean, like $10. I mean, that's good for the month, and it's good for 3 months. So if you can't catch it that day, hop on. $10 access to that, because some of these conversations that we're having around how to get into the beer industry, the legalities of it, right? Mental health topics that we're covering. The diversity and inclusion aspect. Expanding the industry. Also the entertainment, getting to know the people behind these things. The supply chains and how to get your product on shelves. Quite a few tidbits of knowledge that we'll be dropping here in this festival, and maybe you can't get to it that day. Maybe you can't get to this area at all, but you can partake in that for $10 over the course of 3 months. At barrelandflow.com.
And listen, if you've been to any of the past 3 festivals, you know the vibes.
Right.
We don't need to say too much, man. This is kind of a return. This episode is kind of a return to our origin, right? Because the festival 1. 2018, like this is where this relationship began. So this is long overdue. I think we owe this guest an apology. Like, we supposed to have you on like episode 174 or some shit like that, man. Like, but we are happy, you know what I'm saying, on this day to have Aaron Hosé, documentary filmmaker, one half of 2Hands20Fingers, based out of Orlando, Florida, in the building. Say what up to the people.
How you guys doing? I have your other G. You said from the grain to the glass to the groove.
Oh,
with the barrel and the flow.
Grains to the glass to the groove. The grains. I was gonna say girls, but then I'm like, damn, I might have excluded some folks. So I can't say that.
Groove.
To the groove is good. And groove you don't hear a lot.
Right.
So that's
it's a groovy festival, right? If you're looking at this, you know what I mean, it feels like a groovy festival.
About halfway through, I'll probably be real groovy.
and it is that way, because I mean, I honestly, I didn't get to experience. You know what I mean, me and Ed, putting this thing on or whatever, we don't really get to experience the way the folks experience it, right? So you caught a lot of that groove, and I didn't even understand what was going on until I kind of saw it through your eyes. So appreciate that. But for the folks that don't know, tell them who you are and your place in 2Hands20Fingers.
So basically, I'm a documentary filmmaker, born in South Texas, raised in Aruba in the Caribbean, and moved back to the U.S. In my teens to go to college. Kind of developed a love for cinema while I was in college doing computer engineering, which I didn't like at all. Ended up going to film school in Orlando, and in Orlando there's a huge convention and industry. And at the time that I was in college, Steven Spielberg was talking about Orlando as like the new like Hollywood of the East, this area. So this was the place to be. So I ended up just kind of bouncing around, doing freelance stuff, and eventually
Orlando is down. That's it was the MGM Studios, is that? Was that?
Yes.
It was MGM Studios is down there,
but Florida
and Universal is down there, isn't it?
Yeah, so exactly, because of Universal, and
it's the wild East,
but it's considered the South.
It's in the Eastern Conference, isn't it?
Well,
I mean, it is East, but it's not considered
in
the
East.
It's South.
East.
Northern Florida is considered more the South than anything else.
It's both the AFC and
Northern Florida is considered. I won. He said it. He was there. He said it. It's over.
Listen, I ain't even gonna get into my Florida. Well, we'll get into it a little later. We're gonna let you get, but
we'll let you speak positively of Florida at this moment.
But anyway, so, and long story short, been doing like socially conscious, multicultural docs for the past, I want to say, close to 20 years. Short form, long form, and this new film that we're going to release this fall is the 5th feature-length documentary that I've worked on, and the 4th as a director. So, we're pretty happy with how things are going, and we were glad to start production on the film during your first event in 2018. During your first Fresh Fest.
You were like, oh yeah, I hated my job, so I went to film school. Like why? Why'd you go to film school? What made you invest time and money into that?
Spielberg said that Orlando was going to be the Hollywood of the East, even though it's in the South.
well,
did you ever put what is the thing that you love about film? You know what I mean? Like, what is the thing that you were like, yo, I'm really good at? Like, is it the production, the finding the stories as a journalist? Is it the camera work? Is it the editing? Like, what part of filmmaking is it that you were at first drawn to it by? Because there's a lot of it's complex, right? Especially with a two-person team, you clearly are a lot of. You have to go through, it's not like you have a whole, like you compartmentalize that. So how did you get into it? What was that thing? Was it the camera? Was it like you had an email and was like, I'm good at emails? You got to do that too.
Well, it actually started, and I mentioned Spielberg, so it actually started when I was, a teenager in high school, and I loved visual effects. So I loved everything that Lucasfilm stood for. The lightsaber, all the visual effects, all that stuff. I always figured that in some way, shape, or form, I might end up in the film industry doing visual effects. But since I was living in Aruba, and Aruba's part of the Dutch, the Dutch kingdom, I could not get a loan to go to college to do computer science because it wasn't something that they felt I could go back to Aruba and work in that field. There was no computer science field in Aruba. So they said, you can go do computer engineering and, we'll give you a loan to get your studies started. So I ended up doing computer engineering, but I hated it. It's like building boards and shit and soldering. I don't care about that stuff. It wasn't for me. And I actually kind of kept that part of me, I guess, repressed to the, I was watching movies all the time. Like every Friday I was at the multiplex and just watching all the new releases. I would go at like 4 and I would watch everything till the midnight show. I'd even sneak in and out of the theaters, the different rooms and only pay 1 or 2 tickets.
Were you in there like, man, I could do this better. Look at this shoddy ass work. Give me a camera. Like, was you in there like critiquing?
I don't know if you could do that on a stolen ticket. You can't be in there talking shit. You just snuck into the movie.
Look at these charlatans. They ain't real film. Like, how was you? Like, were you taking notes? Like, who was? How was that?
So basically, it was more of me being a film fan at first, and then. I think it was 1994, I hope I get the year right. There was a film called Only You, and it starred Robert Downey Jr. and Marissa Tomei, and it was this romantic comedy set in Venice.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about the importance of taking control of your own destiny. And that spoke to me on different levels, right? So I left the theater and I was very overwhelmed. And it was kind of one of those eureka moments where I told myself, I want to do things that make people feel the way I'm feeling right now. And I don't know what that is. So at first I thought, well, should I take theater classes for acting? Is that what it was? Is it writing? I wasn't sure. I was kind of thinking about it. I was going to go to a conservatory training in New York, but that's very expensive. So my parents and I decided we're not going to do that. That's how I discovered the film program at Valencia College in Orlando, because I was going to engineering school in Melbourne, which is an hour and 15-minute drive. So I was close. So the director of that school called me and we spoke, and he convinced me to come down and check it out. And I did. And I ended up loving it. And the good thing about that program is that they teach you how to be good technician and support structure for everyone else who's doing like the creative. Because out of film school, it's not very common for you to get hired as a director, as a producer. That's not realistic. You'll get hired as a camera person or a grip and electric, the person that does the lighting, or someone that does sound. So that 2-year program taught you different things about all of those tasks. So in essence, I left film school with a little bit of knowledge in every area of how to make a film. So then all of the creative stuff I kind of taught myself just from watching the masters, Spielberg, Zemeckis, Scorsese, Fellini, Wong Kar-wai, big Hong Kong director. I mean, then documentary filmmakers, Steve James, Errol Morris, like Michael Moore. I studied everyone. And I fell into documentary because it was the easiest thing to do. You don't have to have, as you saw, you don't have to have large crews. You can make a film and have it be more of a smaller, more intimate crew and still have an impactful cinematic experience for the audience. You don't have to have Marvel like 30,000 people in the credits. You can have 30, 40 people in the credits and still make a big impact. And that's kind of how I gravitated towards documentary, because I realized that, okay, filmmaking from a narrative standpoint and fiction takes a lot of connections and training and acting training and knowing people with money and building a crew. And that's not where my heart was. My heart was in making a difference for people maybe whose voices weren't being heard, or maybe their voices weren't loud enough. So I could use myself and my team as a vessel to amplify those voices. So that's kind of how it happened over time. And when I married my wife, she kind of joined me, and we started just this little team, and we would just add people add crew as needed to make these films.
So I'm interested with documentaries and things of that nature, right? So what when you have an idea, right? Okay, I want to make a documentary, let's say around chairs. I want to make a documentary around chairs, right? What is the vision for that though? Because you're going to choose individuals to interview and choose events to go to, or you're going to go to certain factories and things like that. But how do you visualize like how that looks on screen, and how do you know that the audio is going to support whatever it is that you want it to see happen? Because like if you're going to do a feature length film, if you do like a Marvel movie or so, you're thinking like, all right, we want these fight scenes, we want X, Y, and Z, we want, big budget, whatever. But with a documentary, it's like, I want to tell a story, but I don't necessarily know how the story is going to be told. I don't know how these people's personalities are going to be. I know one of the challenges with podcasting is, we got these great guests, but we don't know how good of an interview you're going to be.
Yeah, you can't storyboard that shit out. And it's like, all right, this is the beginning, middle, and end. You know what I mean? Now everybody's snapping into place. You just got to work with what you get.
That is correct. With docs, the way I've experienced them is you have to have some semblance of a structure. An intended structure. You have hopes and dreams for a project. That's your plan A. The thing with narrative films, you just have a plan A. All they're doing is they're fixing plan A. Mm-hmm. They have a plan A and they just keep rewriting it so they can shoot plan A because plan A is what they're going to do, right? With documentaries, you have an idea of what you might want to do, a vision, and you can outline that. But the reality is you're dealing with real people whose stories are unfolding, and you don't know what the hell the world is going to throw at you, like a pandemic, for example, right? You can't anticipate that. So then what happens is your story ends up branching out into one direction, and you got to roll with it. Mm-hmm. And that direction may or may not turn back around and converge with your plan A. It may lead to plan B, and you just got to go. You just got to go with it. So you have to have these kind of like situations mapped out, at least somewhat in your head, like, and be ready for when a fork in the road comes and you're like, well, I got to go this way or that way. But the important thing, and this is to kind of answer, I think something, I don't know which, either you or Day or whoever asked this question. For me, my film is made in the edit. That's where documentaries are ultimately created, right? Narrative films are made 3 times. They're made when they're written and storyboarded. They're made when they're shot. That's how you know how close to the storyboard you can get. And then they're made in the edit when you polish the writing and the storyboarding and the raw footage that you have to craft that film. With documentaries, it's kind of the same thing, but it's still different. You have an idea. You have to figure out, is this something that is happening? Am I documenting something that is occurring from point A to point B? Were you kind of instituting some kind of plot structure to it? Or am I talking about something like Chairs? Well, then I'm going back and I'm interviewing people. I'm not telling a story. I'm imparting information. So then I have to do it in a very creative and visually interesting way to keep the audience interested. But if I'm documenting Africa's last no, let me take that back. If I'm documenting Nigeria's oldest chair maker and the last chair that she makes before she passes away, then I have something to document. Mm-hmm. The history behind it, the journey of her in her final days, her final project. You know, what does she intend to do with that chair? You know, how does her family feel about that? Does she still have a family? You know, maybe she used to go and, you know, she's going to use that chair so she can sit outside and enjoy her last sunset. I don't know. You know, there's a lot of different ways you can go about this.
Burn that
that's
shit.
The beautiful thing about documentaries.
Like, bury me with my chair.
Yeah. So
fuck y'all, I'm taking this shit with me.
With docs, you just got to be, depending on the type of film you're making, you got to be ready.
You going to fucking, my tombstone is going to be me in that motherfucking chair. Like, you just going, you know what I mean?
Can you do that?
I feel like.
Can you be in a cemetery above ground? I'm sorry we cut you off, but that's interesting. I would love to be just at the cemetery with a mic.
Yeah, I mean, did you see the funeral where the motherfucker was like had the Newports and was just like chilling there, like with the Newport, and he was in a chair, right? I'm just saying, you can make things happen on the way out, like, you know what I mean, like, you know, respect me. Like,
I'm gonna tell my family to bronze me, standing up with a microphone, and bury my feet. So, like, at least I'm buried technically, right? Because if you bury my feet, and then it's just me above ground, and I'm just, you know, oh shit. I'm sorry. Go ahead with I'm sorry to cut you off, but this just changed.
Yeah, no, you did bring up Nigerian chair makers, and I was like, that is like, you know what I mean? Like, what would I do with that?
Well, you just changed my last will and testament.
Yeah,
this is a huge thing. And this happens with documentaries. You talk about that shift, that event that makes you shift gears. Now, you with the documentary, so I've seen documentaries where if something happens, they can basically just go to a black screen and say, you know, like, oh, well, the pandemic caused us to do whatever. And it would shift kind of how the viewer focuses on or views the next several scenes and whatnot. Is it that simple or do you have to now kind of change? So what sort of events or what happens if something happens? It's like, all right, this whole thing has to change. I have these interviews that I've already done. I have this footage that I've already shot. How do you know? Well, I guess a better question is, in the edit, how do you keep it consistent with documenting as opposed to kind of framing a story?
Yeah, telling your own narrative. How do you keep from how do you eliminate bias as much as you know what I mean?
Or do you? Can you?
Yeah, or is you trying to sculpt something, you know what I mean? Or you making it in, because like when you say the edit, we all know you could edit anything to sound like anything these days. You know what I mean? So how much of yourself do you place in that versus you allowing the story to be what it naturally is? Or, and when I say naturally, again, there's no such thing as an unbiased reporting, but there are levels to that. And where do you believe you fall in that?
I like to present. I mean, every filmmaker has a modicum of bias. Some have a real bias,
like a heavy bias.
Like Michael Moore really makes his point known, but then the film kind of becomes part of the film to the point where that's not my style. Okay. I present and let the people tell the story in their own words. The fact that I'm choosing certain things that they say, that should give you a bit of a sense of where I stand, and even after the film, I can tell you flat out where I stand, but I'm not like this heavy, signs out there, activists protesting. I let the people in the film do the activist part. I like to just show it, right? That's kind of my thing. Now, you mentioned something about using things that change the film drastically, and how does that work, right? And
I was just events that may shift, whatever.
In the film of this in the case of this new film, that is exactly what happened, because it was a completely different project before the pandemic came along. Because of the pandemic, stories shifted. People's journeys shifted. Their businesses changed. They got hit. They had to reinvent themselves. I had to reinvent the direction of the film a little bit, or as best as I could, to go with that flow of the pandemic. And also on the heels of the first few months of the pandemic, something else, I don't want to kind of give too much away, but something else happened that changed the industry too. And that needed to be part of the film, because it's the brewing community coming together to support a much bigger idea. And, diversity or not, people came together to do this thing that's in the film. And that's why I put it where I put it in the film. And that gave me a restructure of the film to be able to end it. Because originally what I wanted to do, the brewers that were in the film were not ready to go that route. That's the best I can give you. They weren't ready to go that route. So in theory,
that's real. There's something we want to ask for more. Like, that's real vague. Like, we ain't gonna force your hand.
Yeah, we gonna wait until you're gonna see some of this on the screen here. But that's a.
Well, I mean,
You ain't got to give it up. You don't have to give it up.
We're gonna tease it there. But no, I mean that is it is pretty. Watching it and whatnot. I was impressed in the way that, that was handled, and, you adjusted to that. You mentioned the Nigerian woman, the oldest chair maker, in Nigeria, which, just even something like that, right? I would never think of something like that. But as soon as you said it, I was like, you know what? I would watch that shit. Right? I'm like, let me think of, So like what?
This is Chandra Rhyme. You can check out my latest project, Bullet, on your preferred streaming platform. You can also catch me performing live alongside 75 brewers at Barrel and Flow on September 11th in Pittsburgh, PA. Details at flowfest.beer.
What is it about beer that made you, and the story in there? You could be doing documentaries about anything. But you spent so much time on this. Like, what was it about these stories in this particular place at this time that led you to that versus anything else that you could be doing?
So I'm going to borrow a line that I heard from you say on a number of occasions. And the line that you said is, we came up with this event because I was fucking tired of being the only Black person in breweries. and that's exactly why I made this film, is because when I fell in love with craft beer officially, I was bitten by the craft beer bug in Asheville in 2014. What a place to get bitten by it, because there's so much good beer there. But then my wife and I, we said, okay, we're gonna find breweries everywhere. Everywhere we go, we're gonna drink, try new beer. Great.
It's a cool wife.
Yeah, definitely. So the more breweries we went to, the more we realized that, well, everyone's friendly, sure, but no one in there looked like us. Mm-hmm. We were the only people of color, or among the few people of color at breweries. And I'm sorry, you're drinking alcohol. If things get out of hand,
right, it's
just going to get really weird if you're the only brown people in a brewery.
Right.
You preaching to the choir, bro.
Right? That's why we got the nods. That's what the nod is for. When you see, you do the head count when you walk in. You see that you do the nod. It's like, is we good here? In case shit pop off. Because sometimes you don't get the nod back, and that's when you really know you alone. Because now you in a
because that person is in the abyss,
right?
They're in the sunken place.
Right?
They don't even know what's going on.
Now you in a movie.
And I'm not even. I mean, and that's just from a patron standpoint. You know, I realized that, you know, the bar staff was predominantly white. Very few women even. You'll have some, but not many. But then middle to upper management, you could tell it was just homogeneously white, male. Once in a million years, you might find a white woman involved somewhere in upper management in the places that I visited, that I toured. So I just got curious, and I started researching, and I started filming a lot of stuff locally and with you guys at Fresh Fest in 2018, and, you know, Pink Boots and whatnot. And yeah, I was determined to give, you know, Black brewers and beer brand owners their time in the spotlight, because every documentary out there was featuring Caucasian brewers, mostly Caucasian male. There was one film that came out that was you were starting to see a shift. Portland, Pennsylvania, where they got the Harris family on there, and Carol Stout was on there, and I was like, okay, this is nice. This is, you know, I'm starting to see a shift, but I feel like One Pint at a Time is the first feature documentary to focus exclusively on the Black experience in craft beer. That's never been made before. I looked for it. I couldn't find it. Garrett Oliver was all over TV series and white documentaries, but no one ever did a full-length film on Garrett Oliver. I didn't understand why. So I said, I'm going to do this. And
he's an intimidating guy, though.
Excuse me?
He's an intimidating guy. If you had to sit with him for a while, you'd be like, all right, this motherfucker makes me feel stupid. I ain't sitting here with him for 4 days. Make me feel like asshole.
I don't even want to sit next to the creases in his shirt. I'm just like, God damn.
Yeah, he is intimidating, but he was like, I hate to use the word token, but he was like that token excuse for any white person who said, yeah, but Garrett Oliver is in the beer industry. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Seriously?
If you know his name.
Right. The guy. Chicago. Garrett Oliver is Chicago. You know what I mean? Of the beer industry. Well, what about Chicago? It's like, come on, bro.
So that's why I made it a point to make a film over the course of 4 years, to the best of my ability and limited financial resources that we had, to give Black brewers their time in the spotlight. And I'm going to fight to get this film out to the public as best as I can with the context that I have. And we're going to hopefully land it on a streaming platform sometime next year. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to go as big as we can, man.
So what have you, I guess, because I mean, you're looking at what, like a 4 or 5 year journey, in this documentary and in the filming and like really getting into it. And if you watch the film, you're all over the place. And there's so many different, and it's beautiful to watch throughout the years, the development of these stories. Like sometimes, it's not just in a 6-month period or whatever. There's like real like ebbs and flows and like, whatnot. What was it, I guess, that you pulled out of it, yourself that you learned? I mean, like, when you're documenting something, as a journalist, you are also growing from that experience. So, how have you grown as a filmmaker? What did you learn while filming this project?
This is Feral Cat. You can check out my latest single, Anselm the Wise, on Spotify. You can also catch me performing live alongside 75 breweries at Barrel and Flow, September 11th in Pittsburgh, PA. Details at flowfest.beer.
So, how have you grown as a filmmaker? What did you learn while filming this project?
One of the things that I talk about a lot with younger filmmakers or filmmakers or anyone who thinks they understand documentaries, I say, you're not necessarily making a film as much as you're making friends and building relationships. And that's one of the things that I definitely learned throughout the making of this project is, the importance of putting the cameras down and having genuine conversations about what's happening, what's going on. So if people feel that you're on the same page and you're not just trying to like, quote unquote, profiteer off of a story, right? And that you're legit. Like, I feel like with you guys, I had to do a little bit of that. I didn't have time to, but I had to prove myself. And that's a natural thing, right? So I had to show up, show you that I was serious. And then even after I left, you didn't really know me. So you didn't even know if you were ever going to see a film.
I was like, this motherfucker just came in, got some cameras.
He sent some product.
It just was, I was like, yo, I ain't never going to see this. Like, he was like, what? And then just came out with like this goal. Was like, hey guys, and just dropped this nugget. And was like, what the fuck is this? Like, that was impressive.
I see, the thing is my admiration for what you guys started was so big. And I realized that no one on your team didn't even realize what you guys did. You guys didn't even know what the hell you guys did. And I was looking at the footage going, wow, this needs to be its own standalone. This is definitely going to be in the film. It ended up repurposed in the film, but it needed to be its own short. And that short went around the world, literally sharing the story of the first Black American beer festival in history. This shit didn't even happen in Europe, where beer is very popular. Who knows if it's happened in Africa, which is more where, beer came from back in the day. But it was having to prove myself to everyone. It's a common thing if you want to make a good, what I feel is a good documentary, because people have to trust you to the point where they're themselves and they're not performing for you. When you're documenting something that's happening in the present tense, you want to be as much of a fly on the wall as possible. And, if I'm going to be uber self-critical with myself and the team, I don't think I honestly had the opportunity to connect fully with everybody. and I'm just being, that's just me knowing how critical I am of my work. You guys are not part of that crew. You guys are part of the crew that fully understood and grasped what I was trying to do and allowed me to just come in and do my thing. I mean, granted, I didn't have to come very often, just once a year, but that was enough because you had your part in the film, and that's all I needed, really.
So in creating these connections and building this rapport, right, do you ever, like, I can see the value in that, right? Because then all of a sudden folks get more comfortable with you around, because people tend to tense up with cameras in the area anyway. It's just like you get performative of sorts because there's a camera. Do you ever find yourself like, all right, in my rapport building phase, I got something that I really wish I just had gotten in a natural state for the film? And then how do you, if that happens, how do you recreate that moment so that you can have it on camera and it not come across as staged?
Sometimes it just depends on what it is.
Okay.
Because I'm very adamant about telling people when I'm going to be filming, like, you need to be yourself. Like, don't be so on. Seriously, don't. Because I won't use this stuff. And I understand. The thing is there are people out there that they want to be on because they're thinking maybe I'm here to promote their business. I'm not. I'm here to tell a story bigger than their business. So just relax. I mean,
bigger than Nino.
The more you relax, the more likable you come across to the audience. The more human, the more they can connect to you. You know, people sometimes turn very robotic. Bullet points. It's like, no, just be yourself.
Just because the camera's here, you ain't no damn actor.
Yeah, I mean, like, really.
Look, the flip side of it is, and if I told you otherwise, I would be lying. The flip side is sometimes you have to maybe do some light staging to patch things up, so that you can maintain the creative treatment of actuality that you set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing something. Okay, you may have to stage it ish. But but I've done it, right? But you do a very little of it because you lose the integrity of what you're trying to do. You try to be as real as you can, right? I'm not making a reality series. I'm making a documentary.
I think
there's a real scripting how you're going to act and sitting there. You do you. I'll tell you more or less what I'm looking for, what I think the film needs. And you just work that into your conversation somehow. That's it.
But I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, so in documentaries, there is a significant portion of such that will be an interview, a question and answer session, right? And so that in itself is staging of sorts because you're going to discuss those particular topics. And then how do you choose what natural content needs to be captured and used? So like in a festival, sure, I think the B-roll of a festival is a little easier to kind of flesh out because if you're trying to demonstrate, hey, this festival, was transcendent and look at, the people who were brought here, how they felt here, then you just look at the scenes that best, speak to that. In a different sense, like we're using the example of the Nigerian woman in the chair, what physical.
I watched that documentary. I'm just saying.
So then, what do you like? All right, let me get some slow down of her like whittling the leg. Do I get her at breakfast with her kids? Like, how do you choose what fits where?
She makes fire pancakes.
Because we recently had the opportunity to see what was filmed turned into a product. Right? It's just something we were able to see. And damn, we look like, how the fuck did you see that?
Right?
Like, how did you see that becoming that?
Wasn't even there.
Like, how does that work? Like, what part of your brain are you using to see?
I don't know.
Yeah, like
I don't know. The one thing that I'd always heard from anyone who does this, but that's been doing it for a while, the one thing you need to have is vision. And you can't teach vision.
The eye. You gotta have the eye, right? I mean,
you have to see it coming together. And the thing with me is I enjoy being very hands-on in the editing. So when I'm about to shoot it, I can already see, okay, I'm probably going to slow it down here. So I'm going to shoot it at a certain frame rate, right? And I know I need a certain amount of cuts probably. So make sure to zoom in or do whatever I need to do or get another camera, getting it from here. You know, I'm looking for a certain emotional response from the audience. So that might require a certain music track. I need to get it with the light at a certain time of day. So it's like that golden hour or that backlight or whatever. So you got to think about all that stuff. So,
are all, would you say all great filmmakers have an editor's eye? Or is that a certain style that you fit into? And then who would you say that maybe, you know, has that same, like when you're watching a film, you're like, yeah, that motherfucker be, I mean, like you can, I mean, can you,
that motherfucker be editing.
That motherfucker be editing. You know what I mean? Like, can you watch a film and be like, yeah, he's got the editor's eye, right? You know what I mean? Or do all great filmmakers have an editor's eye and then they shoot as a result of that? Like, is that a part of being a director?
This is Jackie Page with Love Rocks Cafe and proud sponsor of Barrel and Flow, America's first and only black craft beer and arts festival, September 11th in Pittsburgh, PA. Details at barrelandflow.beer.
Can you watch a film and be like, yeah, he's got the editor's eye, right? You know what I mean? Or do all great filmmakers have an editor's eye and then they shoot as a result of that? Like, is that a part of being a director?
That is absolutely part of being a director. So let's take it back to like narrative filmmaking. So in the script, you take a script, you got to storyboard it, or you know, so you know what your shot list is and what coverage you're going to get every day until you're done shooting your film. So as a director, you're going to go through your shot list. You might improvise with your actors, right? And you might get the right, you know, a performance from a certain angle that you didn't think you'd get. Then you work with your editor to make sure that's the angle you pick. Your editor might say, yeah, but that doesn't work as well. I think that the other angle might work better. So it's a very collaborative thing, but you need to understand how things are pieced together. So you have to have an editor's sensibility. I once read that the best editor ever live was Alfred Hitchcock.
Really? Yeah.
And his films are very close to the storyboard. So he just shoots what was storyboarded because he knew.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, I'm going to go from here to here, then pull out, boop, boop, cut. That's it. I don't need to cut nonsense. So he knew, he had that editor's eye.
Wow.
Right?
Who's a terrible editor? Who's doing it? And you're like, how is he even getting by? Like who's a terrible editor, but still manages?
I would say anything that involves Michael Bay is probably pretty bad.
Oh damn!
It's so frenetic.
Damn.
He
had it on deck too.
Right?
He had it on deck.
Yo, how does he keep making these Transformer films? And how does he do it with such a large budget? And how is it still so bad?
Because they're cool cars turning into robots.
Yeah, it's so I give it the least amount of expectation. That last one that he did, I was like, I don't care if it's. I was like, hi. It was a pandemic. There was nothing else on TV. I didn't even care if it was bad. And I turned on the last night or whatever. And I was like, whatever. And I still wept like 15 minutes into it. It was so bad, man.
The thing about those movies is, does the storyline matter? All of it's bullshit. It's a fucking car that's going to turn into a robot. It doesn't die. Like, how do you gas up this vehicle?
But I mean, but the thing
does
is
it
that,
take premium? What the fuck is Bumblebee?
But the thing about even bad films like that, right? They have to have some cohesiveness to the to
Not
the watching,
when the
right?
car
like
turns into a robot.
No, even when it does that, right? I need to at least know the motivation behind why you're doing this. Like, right? Like just like Fast and Furious, I hate Fast and Furious movies, but at least they're cohesive in the storytelling to some. I've watched half of one.
I watched one. So you just said wait.
But I can't. I think the story is garbage. But I mean, they have. I understand why they're doing it. It's like because of family, right? You don't know why the hell these robots.
Family. I don't think these robots when doing anything that they do. Furious. What's better? So you're a documentary filmmaker. What's a better series, Fast and Furious or Transformers? I say Transformers because it's Fast and Furious, except for the cars shoot you.
Nah.
You think
I don't like either of them, really.
They're both.
But I think I would tolerate.
Who's the least worst?
I tolerate Fast and the Furious more, and I actually like the spinoff, the one with the Rock.
Again, I've watched about like 45 to 48 minutes of the whole series.
I ain't like the movie with the Rock. Is there a movie with a Rock that I like?
I don't know.
Oh shit! The Mummy, he was in the Mummy dip. He was in the Scorpion King.
He was in the Mummy, like he showed up in the Mummy.
He was the Scorpion King.
He was a Scorpion King.
I've never seen that.
I don't know if there's another movie. I mean, I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to Google.
The Rock is one of them motherfuckers that I can't explain.
I'm gonna have to Google.
It's his skin and his muscles. That's what I'll say.
My wife loves him.
He's a gateway black, right? Like he's a you know what I mean? It's like you could put him in there and he won't scare white folks, but he also ticks the diversity card.
And he's also really fucking muscular.
He is, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
he looks like he's like a actual superhero walking around.
He's like
Don't forget, he sounds very safe.
Yeah, right. I mean, he doesn't have much of an ethnicity. Like, I mean, he doesn't have any.
Sounds very safe.
He doesn't have the black.
I am Dwayne Johnson.
Yo, man, like he's just tan. It's like, is he white? I don't know. Like, right? It's one of them, man.
He was born to be this,
bruh.
He was born to be that.
Yeah, he found the niche.
God damn it. God damn. So do you have trouble watching movies?
Do I have trouble
watching movies for just the pure enjoyment factor?
Yeah.
Or are you constantly?
Oh no, not at all. Okay. Not at all. I'm always gonna love the nonsense that's out there.
What's one of your favorite?
The good stuff that's out. I watch everything, man.
What's one of your favorite recent films you would say folks are like, listen, this is a new wave here. This is something that, you know what I mean? Like you were taken aback by. And it could be years.
That's a good question.
It could be years since you've been surprised by something.
So one film that I recently saw that I'm pissed I didn't see it when it came out is Virunga.
I knew you was gonna name some shit I never heard of.
Some Cannes shit. Did you watch that at Cannes?
No.
Virunga.
No, it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Is it on Netflix?
It takes place in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it's a document. It's a conservation documentary. It's a big documentary. The type of like dream job, but I wouldn't be able to do because my wife would put a bullet in my head because there's a lot of shooting and war stuff going on in that film. But it's such a gripping experience.
Virunga.
Virunga.
Oh, did you roll that R? Virunga.
Yeah.
Can you roll yours?
That's one that I saw recently.
I just came from Costa Rica, bro. I've been rolling ours, bro. Virunga. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, honeymooning in Rica.
I have another one for you. So I saw this Danish film called Another Round. And it was fantastically performed, beautifully written. It was very relatable.
Is it a romantic comedy or something?
It's not. It's more like it's a drama. It has some like dry humor throughout, but it's basically a couple of teachers that decide to let go, right, of control and take on this test to see how much drinking would influence how they teach, how they are with their spouses and families, and things kind of get a little out of hand for some, and they're able to pull back. Things get more out of hand with others, and they're not as easily able to pull back. But it's an interesting, like, character study, looking at these teachers who are going through kind of like this midlife crisis together.
You can do the sequel and just follow Day and myself and call it another round and just see how our lives go off the rails because we're in the industry. And so how difficult is it for you? And I think we're going to have to cut soon, but how difficult for you? Now you're documenting whatever it is you're shooting your documentary on. So let's say, with your most recent documentary, right? How difficult is it for you to not get immersed in what's happening and stay laser focused on your objective? So you're going to festivals and shit.
How you say sober at a beer festival?
That's one example. How do you shoot a documentary on a Nigerian woman and not sit in chairs?
Right.
Not drink until you think you have what you need. So not drink until I feel like I have enough. That would be how I would document a beer festival, and that's how I have
start till you get enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't start till you get where you be like, okay, I think I have the essence down. Let me put the cameras away and give me my taster.
I would probably say that at like 11:30. I'd be like, all right, that's it. That's a wrap. We got it. We got what we need.
That is dope. So before we get out of here, what is your favorite form of potato?
And have you done it in a documentary?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
My favorite form of potato, fried, fresh, rippled, and seasoned.
Wait, when you say rippled, are you talking about crinkle cut? You talking about the waffle
I
cut?
think it's the one that, I think it's not the waffle, but the one that's like, what is that called?
You talking about the ridge, the ruffles?
Yeah,
like
I think it's a ridge. It's a ridge. I love the texture.
The crinkle cut? Like the
no.
Well, it comes long like a regular, but it's got like the ripples on it.
You are talking about
a crinkle cut.
You are talking crinkle.
Yeah, I love
frozen.
All right. This is B-roll. Turn this shit off. Turn this shit off.
He's like we
all
don't
the
trust.
shit you just talking about.
We don't trust crinkle cuts.
Fucking crinkle cut. Ain't even no potato inside of a crinkle
That's
cut.
shit right there. You just like pain.
What are
pain and disappointment.
You 4 years old?
you eat the potatoes you feel you deserve, sir. You deserve a better potato.
Man, how am I supposed to trust your documentary on crinkle cuts? Or Ida? The Or Ida crinkle cut.
Where do you get your crinkle cuts? Are they in the freezer? You getting them at the fairs?
There's some places where I go that make incredible burgers. Their fries are really good too.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, man.
I don't know of an incredible crinkle cut. They don't hold on to seasoning well by virtue of the shape. All the seasoning fall off.
Yeah. I mean, they always. Yeah,
what do you dip your crinkle cuts in?
It's a sauce situation.
Well, you might like to hear that the best potato that I've ever had is at Gaucho, right? Where you guys are.
Oh yeah, the Argentinian restaurant.
But I can't get it all the time. I have to get it once a year. Yeah. So it's like, yeah.
All right, that's all right.
That's a
kick,
long...
save, and a beauty. That's a save of all saves. He named a restaurant. He was like, "Now I know a specific potato. I'm talking shit on my crinkle cut."
It's either filet mignon or dog snouts for you. That's the way you're like. It's either gaucho or crinkle cut. I'll take whatever.
No middle class.
Middle. There's no medium there. But we respect that, sir.
All right, so let the people know where they can find you, your work, and upcoming projects.
So you can follow the film at onepintfilm.com, and we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So it's at One Pint Film. So ONEPINTFILM. And we're actually, in terms of projects, we're going to be focusing on that for now because we're having a special sneak preview at the next Barrel and Flow Fest. So that'll be fun.
VIP ticket only situation there.
Yep. And so you have to be there in person, so you can't stream it. And then we'll have our world premiere sometime in October, November, which will be fun. And the goal is in 2022 to get it on a platform. It's a competitive world, but we're gonna go for it. And in terms of projects, we're actually developing. We're in the process of developing a series based on the film. So we want to be able to tell more American stories about minorities in beer, minorities in distilling, minorities in wine, that kind of thing.
All the barrels,
bring them on. So we're working on that because I'd want to be involved with something like that because, I like to consume it. So why not tell good stories and important stories and give, minority communities their due in these industries where they're highly underrepresented. And there are a couple of other projects that I might be doing, but always with the eye on underrepresented communities or, marginalized communities and multiculturalism. That's kind of my thing. I'm not going to be doing the next Marvel film. So, and I'm not aiming to either.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to your documentary on crinkle cuts and where they fit in society. I think that'd be a good one. If you could take anything and do like.
Well, I think I'm going to do the Nigerian chair maker because that one seems to be a hit already.
Right. I mean,
you got one fan at least.
Truth. But then that crinkle cut, maybe you can even fit that in. Like maybe that was some kind of like crossroads in her life that led her.
I was going to say maybe she loves a crinkle cut. Maybe she makes a chair with crinkle cut legs.
Ooh, right.
And it's the sturdiest chair. No? All right.
We'll find it.
We'll figure it out. Dave, let the people know where they can find us.
Hey, if you're looking for us, you can find us on epicastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, Google Play.
We Googleable.
And Spotify under Drinking Partners. You can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at PartnersPod. And you can find us September 10th through the 12th at barrelandflow.com, flowfest.beer. And, man, download the app. All the things, man. Job boards. We got Black Brewery directories. We got a list of sponsors and a list of the schedule, maps, speakers, artists, musicians. One of those speakers being our guest here tonight, and one of the better documentaries in the world, man. Catch One Pint at a Time and catch us at barrelandflow.com, barrelandflow.com/app.
Yeah, the festival's in your phone. Aaron's in our computer, and we want to thank you for coming out, chilling with us. Thank you for the continued support, man. And for all the people, look out for One Pint at a Time, man. It tells a great story, great documentary. And you might see some familiar faces. I don't know. You might. But we love that hoodie. We love that hoodie and the waves that the hair, the hoodie influenced his hair. So we just out here. We all in Florida, man. So as always, we want to thank our guests. Keep up the good work, man. We love what you're doing. And Drinking Partners is the crew. Epicast is the family. And we is out of Pearl.